There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
Let me drive. I will make a fool out of you.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy, lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up? Are you ready to make more money in 1 year than your father made in his whole life? Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Fine. Then let's race.
Hi, I'm Tony Goodman, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hello everybody and welcome to PF International. It's the third consecutive race meeting for Motorsport UK and it is going to be a fantastic day of race action for the TKM, Honda Cadet and Bambino classes for the 2019 Motorsport UK British Kart Championships. Storm Hannah has done its best to waylay us, but we are tougher and stronger. The racing will continue and it's going to be an epic day at the races. Jake Sanson in the commentary box position overlooking the start-finish line once again at the glorious PF International Circuit here in the heart of Lincolnshire. And what a fantastic weekend the Trent Valley Kart Club have put on for us once again, with the marshals all around the circuit getting themselves into position for the main races of the day, the Repechages and the finals. These Repechage races, of course, are the last chance saloon for the drivers who have not quite put themselves into the finals for the main events later in the classes we have today for the TKM categories, both junior and TKM Extreme Senior, and then of course the Honda Cadet category, very hotly contested this year between the drivers aged 8 to 12, and then of course the very beginners in the world of national karting, the Bambinos, who race between the ages of 7 and 9 years of age. And of course the Bambinos are not permitted to race until they have completed 6 official time trial sessions and they turn 7 years of age. So these guys have already had a little bit of experience in the world of Bambinos, but this is their first real shot at racing wheel to wheel. And for a lot of these competitors, it is obviously going to be very frenetic. You'll hear more about their plight a little bit later on. However, the first repechage of the day comes from the Honda Cadet category. Very fiercely competitive in 2019. So far, the story here at PF International is going to potentially mimic that of the National Championships. Over the course of the winter, 2 drivers have been at each other's throats in both cadet categories, not just the Honda Cadet category, but also the IAMI as well. And those 2 drivers are Kian Nakamura-Berta and Sonny Smith. They each of them have a win in their pocket this weekend over the course of the 4 heats that have taken place prior to these final races. Although it looked for a time as though Kian Nakamura-Berta was going to take 2 races out of 2. In his last heat, he was leading by a country mile when a mechanical problem put him out of the race from the lead, and that handed victory to the Thai star Henry Gregory of the Synergy Factory team. And it's a great result, one that I'm sure Alex Albon on the grid at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Formula One would be very proud of indeed. Yesterday we also had a first-time winner at the top spot in the heats, and that is Jack Hobson, who put on a fantastic performance in front of the likes of Oscar Tooten and Jack Plant, 2 other names you've got to keep an eye out on in this 2019 cadet field. But the first attention of the live coverage, we are live on Downforce Radio as well as trackside here at the PF International Circuit. So you can, of course, tweet that out and share it to all of your fans. If you have a smartphone, you can search for Downforce Radio on your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram pages. If you have an opportunity to download an app, then you can do. The application in question is Spreaker, which is speaker with an R. It's free to download. All you have to do is, once you've downloaded it, search for Motorsport UK, and you will find the Race Day Live program, and it will be live to the world. We've had listeners over the first weekend that we were live 2 weeks ago at IAMI listening from all over the world, from North and South America, from the African countries, from all over Europe, and even as far away as South Korea and Australia, would you believe? There's a massive amount of interest in British karting, and as I say that, the drivers head out onto the circuit once again as we prepare for the first live race of the Downforce Radio broadcast. So, the drivers head out on circuit and we get ready for the first repechage, which is in Honda Cadet. The first 6 drivers across the line will progress through to the final. The rest of them will have to come back and try again at the second round of the championship. Here is the grid. Dylan McKay and Rylan Ekberg on the front row of the grid from Reg Haywood and Joe Cheek. Then Danny Shields and Miles Turnbull, Ralph Youngling and Macy Hitter, and rounding out the top 10, it's the Australian Zico Hopkins-Collis and Sonny Mortensen. Then Sophie Kinghorn and Lewis Islin from Henry N.G. Zederberg and Aidan Mitchell. Josh Rudd and Damien Barras-Haggett from Michael Morgan and Bradley Bick. Then Jacob Gilman and Wesley Swain from Fraser Oram and Callum Ghosh. Then Ben Rayburn, Johan Kalachern, Anastasia Dean, Nathan Marquez, Kasper Tomilewski from Fraser Anderson and Blake Ticehurst. So the drivers are just getting the brakes and tyres up to temperature. But a bit tricky task in these cool and windy conditions. It's definitely a lot cooler than it was yesterday, though, in terms of the intensity of the wind. It was trying to blow the circuit away 24 hours ago. Here, on the Sunday afternoon, we have actually got a little bit more of a milder breeze. It's still a little bit on the nippy side, though, so I don't think it's going to be relenting anytime soon. But we're certainly coming out of the other side of that epic storm that hit us yesterday. And now, of course, things are going to be very intense for these guys as they come out of the final turn and onto the start-finish straight. It's a standing start, of course, for Honda Cadets, one of only 2 categories in the 2019 British Kart Championship weekends that are, the others, of course, are the Bambinos, and they're only on the category once in terms of the Motorsport UK package this year. They have a wide and extensive tour through the 2019 season, which we will tell you all about when they come out for their first final. However, it's time for us to get cracking as the drivers are now in position on their starting grid. We wait for the green flag to fly at the back of the grid, but for the guys on the front row, the Scotsman Dylan McKay and Rylan Ekberg for the Project One Racing team, this is crunch time. Reg Haywood and Joe Sheik on the second row. Danny Shields, Miles Turnbull, the lights are coming on. When they are extinguished, we'll race. Hold it, and away we go, and it's a cracking start from the front row of the grid for the 56 of Dylan McKay. Joe Cheek's got a flyer. He's up into third position, banging wheels with Rylan Ekberg as they go through the first corner, and he squeezes himself at a second place. Nicely done as they fly under the Litchfield Bridge and round the long sweeping left-hander up at the top end of the bridge, and it's 4 wide for third position as they squabble away. But they've managed to come over the bridge more or less in one piece, and they drop down through turn 5, down the back straight, and it's going to be a really interesting run now. Can Joe Cheek hang on to this second position in the early stages? He's going to have a bit of a pressure cooker building into the braking zone for the first hairpin. They go through the right-hander and back on the power. Still in the lead is Dylan McKay, then Joe Cheek in second position. Third place, a good start from Rylan Ekberg, and up the inside, that's a bit of a run wide from Dylan McKay. Joe Cheek's going to get on the inside, hasn't quite got the power to be able to get back on terms on the inside. Through the S's, through the left and the right. And then onto the short flick up towards Bobby Game corner, through the right-hander, and getting their way through that long sweeping right up towards the Mike Wilson complex. It's slow in, fast out, and then through the left flick, back on the power at the apex. And then up towards that final chicane, and that is Joe Cheek in front, and we've got yellows at Mike Wilson. Bobby Game corner. Yellow flags at the right-hander at the Bobby Game corner, so not sure who it is that's gone, but Joe Cheek is your leader from Dylan McKay, Ekberg, Shields, Hitter, Haywood. Those 6 are the ones looking to go through at the moment. The only one that hasn't come through, in fact, 2 of them haven't come through. Make that 1 because Anastasia Dean does come through, but it's Fraser Oram who is out of the race at Bobby Game corner. That is such a shame. He's had a nightmare weekend in terms of fortunes. His pace has been there or thereabouts, but it just hasn't quite come together in races, and that's a real shame for him. And he will now be fighting to get himself back into contention at the second round of the championship. A real shame from his point of view. So, leading the way is now... I was going to say it was Dylan McKay. It's Ekberg. Ekberg has got himself back in front. Unfortunately for Dylan McKay, he's down to 3rd. Joe Cheek is down to 5th as they have squabbled over the bridge and shuffled the deck of positions a little bit further. And it's Dylan McKay who now leads the charge to move forward. But Rylan Ekberg is leading the race itself. So they go through the Mike Wilson complex, stationary yellows as the marshals are still working to move Fraser Oram's kart off the line. And as they come down the main straight and to complete the end of lap 2, it is the 73 who leads the way. Rylan Ekberg in front of Danny Shields now for the Ambition Motorsport squad. Then the teammates at Heinz Racing, Dylan McKay and Macy Hitter are 3rd and 4th. Then Joe Cheek and Reg Hayward, and it's those 6 that are likely to go through at the moment. Although we are watching very closely for Bradley Bick, who has charged his way through 10 places through the field from 18th on the grid to 8th. So Bradley Bick's got a genuine chance to work his magic through. Damien Barras-Haggart's up to 9th place. Both of them are behind Miles Turnbull, by the way, in 7th position. But the leading 7 have broken clear from the rest of the field. As up the inside, that's another bold move from the 47 of Damien Barras-Haggart, who's made his way up from 9th position to 8th, all the way through the field, having been about 8 places further back. So some really good battles to come from 8th position down to 12th. There's about 5 of them scrapping away. I make that Bick, Barras-Haggart, Islin, Mortensen and Swain. Zico Hopkins-Collis, the Australian, is leading the cavalry, trying to charge up towards them. But the leaders are now making their way through the final chicane of the lap as they push on further out. Rylan Ekberg out in front of Shields as they come down the main straight. So Danny Shields for the Ambition Motorsport squad, running very well in 2nd place. Trying to work his way through the chicane under the Litchfield Bridge, hoping for an opportunity to dart up the inside. He's not going to take it just yet. Dylan McKay round the far side. And up the inside, that is Macy Hitter, I believe, trying to fend off Reg Hayward. But has Hayward got through into that 4th position? A bit tricky to tell from the distance as they go down the back straight. That is the 64 of Reg Hayward in front of Macy Hitter now. So Macy is still there. She's in 5th position. But there's an opportunity now to get back into the top 4 as the 2 drivers scrapping away for P6 are Miles Turnbull, who's now in front of Joe Cheek again. So those 2 battling for the final spot in the race grid for the finals, effectively. As the leaders work their way through the S's, through the left, through the right, onto the back stretch, and up towards Bobby Game Corner, through the right, and then flow on the power, through towards Mike Wilson Complex. Hard on the brakes, coax the kart in, back on the power, blend out through the left-hander, and then you're back on the throttle through the final chicane. Trying to use a little bit of curb on the way in, but you want to make sure you don't get a dirty exit. And then back on the power once again. Over the line, Rylan Ekberg from Shields, McKay, Hayward, Hitter, Turnbull and Cheek. And there's a bit of a gap back now to the back for 8th place. Led, incidentally, by Lewis Islin now in front of Sonny Mortensen and Bradley Bick. Then Wesley Swain and Damien Barras-Haggart. Ben Rayburn's up 10 places in front of Sophie Kinghorn. Up to 15th has come Blake Ticehurst. He's made up about 14 places. Really good work from Blake Ticehurst. And then we've got Hopkins-Collis in front of NG Ziederberg. Then Jungling, Marquez, Gilman, Rudd, Kalachern, Ghosh, Tomilevsky, Dean, Morgan, Mitchell, Anderson and Oram. And obviously Oram is the one sole retirement from the race. Unfortunately, he'll have to come back and try again at the 2nd round of the championships. Now, here is the battle for the victory. Danny Shields working with Rylan Ekberg to stretch out an advantage out front. He's not thinking about the victory at all just yet. There's still a good 6 minutes to go. These are long repechages for the drivers at British Championship level. But they want to put on a really tough show in the 2019 season. These guys are being made to work in the 2019 campaign. Out of the final turn, Danny Shields still trying to get away with Rylan Ekberg out in front. But 3rd place, Dylan McKay, is not far away. And Reg Hayward and Macy Hitter have both managed to make the move on Dylan McKay in that lap. My apologies. So they scrap away for 3rd position now. Macy Hitter up to 4th. Reg Hayward's up to 3rd. And those 2 look as though they're battling away together. And up to 3rd goes Macy Hitter. Nice move over the bridge. So Macy Hitter gets through into P3. Is that going to be a defence? Just from Dylan McKay trying to make his way into 4th position. But as a result of their jostling, Hayward versus McKay, Macy Hitter has been able to get clear in 3rd position. And he's now starting to go after the drivers up front. So Rylan Ekberg and Danny Shields are fighting for the victory. Macy Hitter's not far away now in 3rd. And she looks very much a contender for the victory in this repechage. 64. Reg Hayward is in 4th place in front of the 56 of Dylan McKay. Then Turnbull and Cheek are still scrapping away at each other's gearboxes at the moment. They run through Mike Wilson Complex this time. Under the brakes, just coax the kart in. Gently glide it back out on the power. Danny Shields right underneath Rylan Ekberg. Not going for the move until he needs to. And they're just ticking down laps at the moment. 5 minutes to go, plus the additional lap on top of it. It's never going to be easy to get the victory, but you don't want to push yourself too hard too soon. They go through the chicane and under the Litchfield Bridge. This is going to get even more intense as the race progresses for sure. as they come through the long sweeping left-hander into the left square. Turn 4 over the Lichfield Bridge and turning right down, dropping out through turn 5 down the back straight. Ekberg and Shields. Hitters now being caught a little by Haywood. McKay's got Turnbull all over the back of him. In fact, Turnbull is going to try and save his bacon even more and get himself in a 5th position. Nice move there. That leaves McKay vulnerable to attack from Joe Cheek. They've got to be careful battling away for 5th position. If they lose life now, then they're going to drop back quite considerably with little time to make up the deficit. But the leaders are being caught by Macy Hitter and Reg Haywood. The two of them have teamed up now, 3rd and 4th, and they are trying to get close to Ekberg and Shields, who are holding each other up, essentially. So they come through. 4 of them together. Oh, it looks as if a bit of a mistake for Reg Haywood. He's dropped off the back of Macy Hitter by a couple of kart lengths. But on the way out of the Mike Wilson complex, he gets right back on the bumper of Macy Hitter's kart as they come down the back straight once again and over the line. 3 minutes 45 plus the additional lap still on the clock. A really exciting duel between these racers as they fly under the Lichfield Bridge once again. And they go up through the sweeping left-hander. Back onto the power and up the inside. That's going to be a move for 2nd from Macy Hitter. Macy Hitter gets through into P2 now. Very good work indeed from Macy as she gets herself into 2nd place and already right onto the bumper of Rylan Ekberg, And in 3rd place, that is a very late lunge to come up from the inside. Is that Danny Shields still there in 3rd? Yes, it is. Meanwhile, there's a bit of a challenge to Miles Turnbull from the former leader of the race, Dylan McKay. So these 7 are still scrapping away for the race victory, but there's only 6 spaces in the final and 7 of them to compete for it. So one of them is going to have to come off, unfortunately, from this race a little bit empty-handed. But what a battle it is, even all the way through the field. We've still got squabbles. Lewis Islin leads the battle for 8th place in front of Mortensen, Swain, Bick, Barras, Haggart. And then we've also got Henry Ng Zederberg in front of Rayburn, Kinghorn, Youngling, Tysers, Gilman, Rudd and Hopkins Collis. Really good racing all the way through the field. Yellow flags because we've got somebody has come to a stop on the way towards Bobby Game. Now, I can't make out who that is, unfortunately, from the distance. But we have got yellows, so somebody has retired from the race up at that point. Meanwhile, Macy Hitter trying to shake off Danny Shields as they go over the Lichfield Bridge. Running short on time. I think the retiree is Jacob Gilman. That's a real shame. Jacob Gilman out of the race then, pulling off on the approach to Bobby Game. Macy Hitter goes for the lead. Macy Hitter into the hairpin and takes the lead of the race. Fantastic work from Macy Hitter. And we've got yellows at the 3rd hairpin as well. We've got yellow flags at the hairpin, although they have been withdrawn, so somebody's gone down the order. We'll try and keep an eye on it. But Macy Hitter now leads from Shields. Ekberg down to 3rd. Yellow flags are still waving at the chicane on the approach to Bobby Game, so no overtaking there. But I think basically Jacob Gilman is now just getting some attention from the marshals. I think he's okay, though. So the yellow flags are out. If it was any more serious, we would be under caution at this point, and we are not. So Macy Hitter able to lead the race quite brilliantly over the line once again. And it looks like there's been a penalty, a 5-second penalty being added to the 56. That is Dylan McKay. Oh, that is disastrous. So Dylan McKay has been given a 5-second penalty. Now, Haywood and Turnbull have had the coming together. So right at the front end of the field, Haywood and Turnbull have dropped back. Haywood is rejoined in 12th. Where is Miles Turnbull? Well, he has yet to come through. In fact, Turnbull, I think, is down at the back of the field. Yes, indeed, Miles Turnbull is rejoined dead last, unfortunately. So the two of them had a major problem. And apparently, the officials have said that it's the blame of that incident is squarely at the responsibility of the 56 of Dylan McKay. Now, that's a real shame because he's in 4th place, and that means effectively, he's in 3rd position now, in fact, but that effectively means that he's not going to get through unless they can pull 5 seconds clear of Wesley Swain, which so far they have done. But he can't afford to have a single error now for the rest of the race. Otherwise, he's not going to get through. So Macy Hitter leads the race. 2nd position is now Ekberg. Then it is McKay in front of Shields and Joe Cheek. 20 seconds on the clock. By my math, that's 2 laps to go. Through the S's, through the left under the Lichfield Bridge, and then through that long flowing left hairpin. That's a move up the inside from Danny Shields to take on Dylan McKay. They go side by side and through. And up the inside goes Ekberg for the lead. Ekberg takes on Macy Hitter. So Ekberg gets into 1st position in front of Macy Hitter down the back straight, and Shields is through on McKay through to 3rd position with Joe Cheek chasing them down. In the back straight, through the hairpin, And back onto the power once again. This is a really good run from Macy Hitter coming through to the far side of Ryland Ekberg, trying to get back on the undercut and switch her back up the inside. There's a bit of a challenge from Danny Shields, but he's got problems of traction on the inside line. Right round the outside is going to come Dylan McKay and sweeps through and takes third position. Now, third position on the road, but you're going to have to add 5 seconds to his score. That means, though, that the contact between Hayward and Turnbull earlier means that battle further back is now for the final position in the final. And that's Wesley Swain, Lewis Islin, Sonny Mortensen, Bradley Bick, Damien Barris-Haggett and Henry Ng Zederberg battling for it. 6 of them all questing after 1 place. Last lap, here we go. And it's Ekberg battling with Macy Hitter. Goodness me, they were jostling on the way over the line. Under the Litchfield Bridge. Big defence from Ryland Ekberg as he holds that coveted inside line through the hairpin. Macy Hitter's trying to cut back. Up on the inside. That's Shields protecting as Joe Cheek goes up the inside and gets 4th position off Dylan McKay. Now, Ekberg holds the inside line as they go down the back straight. Macy Hitter's going with him as they go down towards the braking zone for the hairpin. Through the right. Back on the power, Danny Shields looking quite hungry on the back of Macy Hitter to try and get into the lead. Hitter's going to have to go the long way round as they get switched onto the inside of their hairpin, and it's a brilliant bit of undercut from Macy Hitter to get on the inside of Ekberg. Shields goes with her. So Hitter is in the lead, Shields is in second position. Brilliant bit of racing for the two of them. Perfection in racecraft. And now they come up to Bobby Game through the right-hander. Macy Hitter's got 1 kart length, and I think this is going to be enough for a brilliant victory for Macy Hitter. If she could just hang on, as up the inside, Ekberg's going to grab second from Shields. McKay and Cheek have all slipped through too. Checkered flag time, and Macy Hitter's got a brilliant victory. Fantastic for Macy. What a result. Second place for Ekberg. Great fight back. Dylan McKay will be third over the road, and who gets the final place? It's Islin. Islin just scrapes in front of Henry Ng Zederberg. Oh, goodness me, that was tight. Well, if Dylan McKay is going to get that 5 seconds added on, he will slip to 5th position, but that still keeps him in the final. So, over the line, it's Macy Hitter who grabs the victory in the repechage in front of the resurgent Ryland Ekberg. Great to see him fighting his way back to the front several times in that epic race. Dylan McKay is third at the line, although his 5-second penalty will drop him to 5th. Joe Cheek, therefore, inherits third from Danny Shields. McKay will still take 5th because his 5-second penalty still puts him over a second clear of the rest of the field. And then in 6th place, that crucial 6th position that sees that driver get through to the final is set to be Lewis Islin. Just a whisker in front of Henry Ng Zederberg. And then Sonny Mortensen and Damien Barris-Haggett from Bradley Bick in 10th. Wesley Swain is 11th in front of Ben Rayburn. Then Josh Rudd, Sophie Kinghorn, Blake Ticehurst, and then Kasper Tomilewski. Then it is Callum Ghosh, Zika Hopkins-Collis, Nathan Marquez and Aidan Mitchell in the top 20. In front of Johan Calichurn, Anastasia Dean, Fraser Anderson, Michael Morgan, Miles Turnbull and Reg Hayward after their problems earlier on. Unfortunately, they continued. And in fact, Reg Hayward had a problem on the final lap as well that dropped him right the way behind Miles Turnbull. 3 retirements from the race, rather sadly. Ralph Youngling was one of them, and he retired with 3 laps to go. Jacob Gilman, he retired 2 laps prior to that, and we lost Fraser Oram from the race on the very first lap. But we have our 6 provisionally. It looks as though the 6 that are going to go through are Macy Hitter, Ryland Ekberg, Dylan McKay, Joe Cheek, Danny Shields, and Lewis Islin. Not necessarily in that order, but it definitely looks as though it's going to be those 6 that will go through to the final. So a breath of sigh of relief for those guys as they prepare for the action, and they will have a really good battle to have over the course of the final. So those 6 look to have done enough to get through, and now we prepare for the next race on the bill, which of course is going to be the TKM Extreme Repechage. And extreme really is the word to use because these guys are so ridiculously close. In qualifying in one of the time sessions, we had 21 drivers covered by a second. That's how close it is in TKM Extreme. It's brutal, it's tough, and mistakes are costly. Even the slightest blink over the curbs can cost you 4 or 5 places in a time qualifying session. So it really is brutal. And it's difficult to say this and then put your reputation on the line by staking it, but I'm going to say so anyway. It is pretty much, pound for pound, the most competitive championship in the British Kart Championships paddocks. TKM Extreme, you've got at least 14 to 15 drivers this season who can be the champion, and about 10 more who can regularly win races, another 10 more who can regularly finish in the podium positions of races. So it is ludicrously competitive in TKM Extreme. And this is just the repechage that we're talking about now. So again, the 6 drivers who are across the line first are the ones that will book their places through to the finals a little later on today. And it is fiercely competitive in TKM Extreme. As we've mentioned, the races are long and hard. 12 minutes. Plus the additional bonus lap in the repechage, and for a lot of the drivers on the grid, this is going to be their last 12 minutes plus 1 lap of the racing. But for 6 of them, they will continue on to the finals a little later. They are going to be waved out onto the circuit. They are now, and of course the drivers will be warming up the tyres and brakes as usual. So let's see how they will progress in these repechage races, the second of the day, and it's for TKM Extreme. Here's the grid. Maria Bright is on pole position, and she's joined at the front end by Aaron Lask. Then Adam Jones and Theo Hesketh from Joe Reeve-Smith and Leanna Page. Will Lakin and Gavin Pitt, who it looks as though has neglected to start the race. Glenn Guest and Christian Brierley. And then it's Megan Lawson and Jack Godden from James Buckingham and Cristiano Nardone. Daniel Burgess and Sam Johns. Isaac Marsh and Alexander Lemon. And then it's the Frenchman Tony Kazugel alongside the Englishman Anderson Chilcott. So the drivers are battling away. It looks as though we've had an off already on the run to the Litchfield Bridge. Now, who is that? I have a feeling that's Megan Lawson, the 34. The Tony Kart appears to have stopped just before the Litchfield Bridge. Now, that is disastrous for Megan Lawson. That's a real heartbreaker if that's where she is going to end her weekend. And it does look as though she's not going to be able to get the kart going again. What a shocker for Megan Lawson, who was set to start this race. If I do my math properly, I think she was due to start this race from 11th place, so plenty of opportunity to get back into the finals. But unfortunately, Megan Lawson is on the sidelines, and we're told that Gavin Pitt now is out on the circuit, although I'm not sure he's going to be able to take up his grid position. He's flying around the circuit at full throttle, trying to catch the back of the pack, which I think is where he's going to start the race from. So Bright, Lask, Jones, Hesketh, Reeve-Smith, Page, Lakin, Guest, Brierley, and we're going to get a clean start straight away down to the first corner, and Maria Bright is going to hold on to the lead through the first chicane as Lask slots into second position. The rest of the field dices through the Litchfield Bridge, and there's no major difficulties as the drivers continue on. Gavin Pitt follows quite a few kart lengths back as up the inside. Maria Bright's going to lose the lead to Aaron Lask, and Lask has gone through and taken first position, so the 44 heads the pack. 72, Maria Bright in second position. Third place, that is Adam Jones as they come down to the braking zone for the hairpin. And there's already a couple of jostles for position in the hairpin as they try and make up progress. In fourth position, it is unbelievably the number 4, Joe Reeve-Smith. He's had a nightmare weekend so far and shouldn't even, by his standards, be in the repechage. But that's where he finds himself, so he's got to make hay while the sun shines. Down the short stretch to Bobby Game Corner as they go through the right-hander. And then back into the Mike Wilson complex once again. Back through that long flowing right and into the left-hander. Keeping themselves up on the curbs as they go through the second part of the apex and then onto the final chicane and down the main straight. Leading the way is Aaron Lask in the precision racing kart. Running very well in front of Maria Bright, Adam Jones, Joe Reeve-Smith and Theo Hesketh and Will Lakin. But he's under pressure already from Christian Brierley and Leanna Page. Then it's Glenn Guest and Jack Godden, Sam Johns and Dan Burgess from Marsh, Nardone, Buckingham, Kazugel, Chilcott, Lemon and Pitt. Down the back straight. Oh, that's Joe Reeve-Smith making the move on Adam Jones, and Theo Hesketh's going to get through as well. So down to 5th goes Adam Jones, but hangs on to things as he gets himself back up to speed once again. Several drivers trying to charge their way through. That's Glenn Guest getting around the outside of the 22 of Jack Godden to hold on to the position. And behind them is the Welshman Sam Johns, who is battling his way up into position as well. Then the next two further back are Isaac Marsh and Cristiano Nardone. They've both dealt with Dan Burgess over the course of the lap. So they come through to the Mike Wilson complex once again. It's misery and heartbreak, though, for Megan Lawson as she watches on from the Marshall post. What a shame. Walking in now on the back straight. As over the line for the lead of the race comes the 44 of Aaron Lask. Leads the way from Maria Bright. Then Joe Reeve-Smith, Theo Hesketh and Adam Jones. Is there going to be a challenge for second position on Maria Bright? No, it looks like Joe Reeve-Smith is going to play the long game here and work with Maria Bright. And then as I say that, he dives on the inside in turn 4 and goes for second place and grabs it. So Joe Reeve-Smith now into second, past Maria Bright. Then Theo Hesketh in 4th position. 5th is Adam Jones, and in that bubble spot, 6th position on the bubble is Christian Brierley. So So Christian Briley is hoping to hang on to that 6th position spot, but he's going to get a bit of pressure from Leanna Page, and she is working very hard to get onto the back of that kart in front. So there is a chance that we could see 2 of the females in the repechage come through to the top 6. The 3rd, unfortunately, is going no further, as Megan Lawson, unfortunately, has to watch the rest of the race from Marshall Post 1 on the run to the first corner. What a shame. She deserved much better than that. Out of the final chicane comes your race leader, Aaron Lask, in front of Joe Reeve-Smith, who is hunting him down. They go down the main straight. 3rd position is still Maria Bright, working well in 3rd. And Leanna Page has got right onto the back of Christian Briley as well for the potential to go up into 6th position. He's growing. And as they come through up at the top end of the circuit, a move for 3rd position comes from Hesketh. Hesketh gets through on Maria Bright. So Hesketh is through into 3rd position, past Maria Bright, and down the back straight. Now it looks as though Adam Jones is going to have a go at Maria Bright into the hairpin. He makes a late lunge to think about it. That was a little bit hesitant, and they nearly bang wheels. Maria Bright gets the back end out sideways. To the right-hand side is Christian Briley, and Leanna Page is going to go past both of them. Very nearly all 3. Oh, and there's a little bit of a wheel banging there between Page and Maria Bright. A massive tank snapper from Glenn Guest as around goes, I think that's Jack Godden. So it might be Jack Godden, it might be Will Lakin who's gone around, and he actually applauded as he went around. I'm guessing that's pure sarcasm, but an absolute rotter for the man who's gone around. So Aaron Lask leading from Reeve-Smith. In fact, it wasn't the man. Yes, it was Will Lakin who went around and spun to the back of the field, and he's absolutely livid about it. So Will Lakin rejoins at the back of the field. He'll be very frustrated, hence the sarcastic round of applause from in his cart. But a big problem. So now Aaron Lask leads Joe Reeve-Smith. 3rd is now Theo Hesketh. Then it's Jones in front of Leanna Page. And up into the 6th place spot, that is Glenn Guest. So Glenn Guest has put himself into 6th position. Not only races TKM Extreme, he also does the classic versions of kart racing, the F100s. Through the chicane. And onto the back straight as well. Up into the right-hander. And it's going to be a really exciting challenge for Aaron Lask to hang on in front of Joe Reeve-Smith, who's chipped away a little bit more out of the first sector. But Aaron Lask has responded in the 2nd sector. And Joe Reeve-Smith's actually got a challenge now from Theo Hesketh as they go down the main straight. Hesketh's going to put Reeve-Smith under massive pressure. 4th position, Adam Jones in front of Leanna Page, who is giving a massive amount of lead work onto the back end of Adam Jones now, really giving him some pressure. And Glenn Guest is there in P6, still fighting hard. And that's the position that will give him a seat in the final if he can hang on to it. A real shuffle of the deck of cards over the course of this race, but the top 6 remain at that. 7th position is a real grudge match at the moment. It's led by Sam Johns, then Maria Bright, then Christian Briley. And in 10th position is Jack Godden ahead of Nardone, Chilcott, Kazugil, Marsh, Gavin Pitt, who's got past Buckingham and Lemon. Then Dan Burgess and Will Lakin, who's making a comeback after his spin at the chicane while battling for P6. So out in front it is still Aaron Lask, but Joe Reeve-Smith has got some pressure now. And that's in the shape of Theo Hesketh, who comes round the far side, onto the main straight once again, and down towards the finish line. This is going to be a really strong run. Over the line, through the chicane, but Aaron Lask leads. Joe Reeve-Smith 2nd from Theo Hesketh in 3rd. Then it is Adam Jones and Leanna Page. Glenn Guest in P6 from Sam Johns. Maria Bright in 8th position from Briley and Godden. Then Nardone and Kazugil, Chilcott, Marsh, Pitt, Buckingham, Lemon, Lakin. And Dan Burgess, we are told, has pulled in to retire. So problems for Burgess mean he's out of the race and not going through to the finals, I'm afraid. How close are Reeve-Smith and Hesketh getting now to the race leader, Aaron Lask? And meanwhile, as I say that, the 4th place battle's tightening up too. Jones, Page and Guest are very close together, with 7th place Sam Johns closing in on them. To the chicane, left over the curb, right over the curb, and back down the long stretch towards that long tight right at Bobby Game Corner, as they now come through to the Mike Wilson complex. Those first 2 or 3 drivers just easing their way through, back on the power, blending in through the left-hander, back on the throttle on the right, and onto the main straight once again. Aaron Lask in front of Reeve-Smith and Hesketh, all 3 of them now covered by 0.3 of a second. Jones, Page, Guest, Johns, Bright, Briley, Nardone, Godden, Chilcott and Kazugil very close together, as up the inside, there goes Gavin Pitt on Isaac Marsh into turn 1 and gets the place. So the battles all the way through the field. Very intense indeed. And are we going to see a change for the 4th position spot? I think we already have. As up into 4th has come Adam Jones, but Leanna Page has got a very feisty Sam Johns, who's got past Guest and Page. So brilliant stuff. Maria Bright goes past Glenn Guest now. Goodness me. No room at all for negotiation. And Bright wants a piece of it. Glenn Guest has to dive up the inside of Cristiano Nardone in the hope of catching up with Bright. Puts 2 wheels on the grass, and that's allowed Christian Briley to come through. My goodness, this is a very intense battle in the midfield as they try to scrap away to get into the contention for 6th position. But out in front, it is still Aaron Lask leads the way out of the final corner and down the main straight. Reeve Smith and Hesketh are getting a lot closer to him now. But it's a new personal best lap for Aaron Lask, who leads the race. Fastest lap of the entire race, though, has gone to Cristiano Nardone at the moment. He's on a 1:01.27 as he gets himself back into contention, but he's only up to 10th place. Meanwhile, Anderson Chilcott is storming through the field for the Jade Racing team. He's now up into 9th position and only 3 places away from making the final with time to get there. 3 minutes and 12 plus the additional lap. So Anderson Chilcott is fighting to save his weekend, and in P9, just a whisker ahead of Cristiano Nardone, he has a chance to get there. The top 3 are together. The next 3 are together. And then you've got the 5 scrappling away for 7th. But if they stop fighting and work together, they may have a chance to catch the 3 positions up in front. But they are running short on time now. 2 minutes and 50-ish. Out of the final chicane. And over the line this time, Aaron Lask is still going to have that little bit of an edge over Joseph Reeve-Smith and Theo Hesketh. They go through. The gap between them all is just a whisker over half a second. Jones, Johns, Page, Briley, Bright, Chilcott, Nardone and Kazugel. Then Jack Godden in front of Pitt and Marsh. What's happened to Glenn Guest? Glenn Guest has disappeared from the fray. And I think Glenn Guest has retired. So whether that's because of an incident or whether he's got some problems, but Glenn Guest, his brilliant charge to get into the top 6, sadly has come to naught, and he's out of the race and out of the weekend. That is a real shame for Glenn Guest. He had a really good run up to that point for the Flex Motorsport squad, and they'll be bitterly disappointed. But it's 3 different teams in the top 3 positions. Precision Racing, Litchfield Motorsport and Tim Wilson Motorsport in the top 3. From Aaron Lask, Joe Reeve-Smith and Theo Hesketh. Then it's Jones Johns and Leanna Page in the top 6 with them as well. So Leanna Page is currently sitting in the 6th place spot, hoping that he's going to remain, hoping that the 2 drivers in front are going to move out of the way because she's actually gaining ground on them. I was going to say remains in the top 6, but she looks as though she's actually going to move forward, not to defend the position, as Anderson Chilcott has moved up into 8th place now, just a whisker behind Christian Briley. Has he gone for the move? Yes, he has. So up to 7th place now comes Chilcott, and that's opened the floodgates. Nardone has come through into 8th position. Now Maria Bright's going to try and get on the inside, but she's got problems defending from the Frenchman Tony Kazugel. And Tony Kazugel has actually got through, but now back up the inside comes Maria Bright and gets the position back. So nice work there. Unfortunately for Tony Kazugel, he's going to have to try again a little bit later in the race. But we are running short on time. Down to 6th position now has gone Adam Jones. Sam Johns has gone through, and so has Leanna Page. So it's now Adam Jones who's in an untenable position there in 6th position, looking a little bit nervous out of the final turn, and the 3 leaders are still very close together, although I noticed that Reeve-Smith and Hesketh have definitely got closer to Aaron Lask of late. The gap is now just 0.3 between them all. Then it's Johns, Page, Jones. Chilcott's gaining massive ground. Chilcott, with a little bit of support from Nardone and Briley, can catch Adam Jones before the end of this race. We've only got 2 to go, but he has got a chance to do it, and Chilcott knows that there's only going to be a lap and a half to gain the ground on the 3 drivers battling away up front, so he's going to have to give it everything he's got. Down the short stretch, up into the hairpin once again, through the hairpin. And back onto the power towards the chicane for the 3 leaders. It is Lask, Reeve-Smith and Hesketh. They will want a good position on the starting grid as well. They'll have to take up the positions on the final 3 rows, so they know that much. But where on the grid will they prefer to start? Left or right? That very much depends on where they finish. The even side of the grid is the inside line. The even side is the outside line, and then the odd side, if you like, is on the inside line. Last lap, here we go. Joe Reeve-Smith has dropped Theo Hesketh just the slightest, and Aaron Lask is right in there. Now we've got Cristiano Nardoni having made his way up into 7th place past Anderson Chilcott, but in doing so, they've made massive progress to the 3 karts in front, and now it is essentially a 6-kart squabble for the final 3 places as Tony Kazugel once again tries to make the move on Maria Bright over the bridge and fails. Round the outside, the battle for the lead begins as Lask has got Joe Reeve-Smith and Theo Hesketh squabbling behind him. Theo Hesketh trying to get himself into 2nd position round the outside of Joe Reeve-Smith. Checkered flag coming. Cristiano Nardoni dives round the outside of Jones and doesn't get there, but he's still pushing hard. Meanwhile, Christian Briley's working with Anderson Chilcott, and now at the inside, Nardoni gets into 6th position. Here comes Chilcott making the move to get into 7th position, running out of road on the inside line and has to concede. Jones is going to get there first, but the checkered flag as they come out of the final turn, the 3 leaders are going to remain unchanged. Aaron Lask is going to win it from Reeve-Smith and Hesketh, but who will get the final 3 places? It's 27 Sam Johns from Liana Page and Cristiano Nardone. They get through into the top 6. How close was that on the last lap? Goodness me. But a very closely fought race indeed. And it's Aaron Lask who makes it through after winning the repechage in front of Joe Reeve-Smith and Theo Hesketh from Sam Johns, Liana Page and Cristiano Nardone. A massive plaudit to Sam Johns for making his way up from 16th on the grid to come up to 4th in the repechage. That gets him through. A similar effort from Anderson Chilcott. He also made up 12 places, but unfortunately he started 20th, and that means he could only make 8th position in the race, but he came so close. One more lap, and he might have found his way through as well. Such tough battles in TKM Extreme. It's going to be like that all season long in the British Championships. So Aaron Lask, Joe Reeve-Smith, Theo Hesketh, Sam Johns, Liana Page and Cristiano Nardone are the ones who are provisionally through. But we have to wait for official confirmation. But those are the 6 likely to progress through. Adam Jones is in 7th from Anderson Chilcott. And then it is Christian Briley and Maria Bright in the top 10 from Tony Kazugel, Gavin Pitt, Jack Godden, Isaac Marsh, James Buckingham and Alexander Lemon. With the retirements, Will Lakin, who finally gave up the ghost with 3 laps to go, Glenn Guest, Dan Burgess, and unfortunately failing even to start the race. Bitter disappointment for Megan Lawson, who deserved so much better from this weekend. Had the pace easily to be within the top 10 for the majority of the weekend, but so did many other drivers in TKM Extreme. That's how close it is in this category. And unfortunately, there are only 34 places in the finals, and there's quite a few more than that competing in TKM Extreme this weekend. But no doubt, several of the drivers who are here who have not quite made it, the likes of Anderson Chilcott, Christian Briley, Maria Bright, Tony Kazugel, Gavin Pitt, Glenn Guest, Megan Lawson, those drivers who could easily have made it through in this repechage. They will be back to fight another day in the next round of the championship at round 2. It stinks, but it just serves to give you more motivation to progress further next time. So there's obviously going to be a bit of a breather for the drivers as they get themselves ready for the finals a little bit later on in the day, but we will see them when they come out for their finals a little bit later on. The TKM Extreme pre-final, or final 1 as it is actually, will be at 2:45 here this weekend. So the drivers are getting away with the battles a little bit later. There's only one pre-final today, I should point out. The others are all final round races, which will count towards championship points, if that makes any sense. But we have point scorers, of course, from Honda Cadet already, the ones that haven't quite made it through in the repechage races. And there is one more repechage to come, and that is for Junior TKM. After what has been a really exciting battle through the course of the day, we've seen some truly spectacular races from the drivers. They've been really exciting to watch through the course of the weekend. Yesterday's heat, after an amazing move around the outside line, by the way, Oliver Richardson pulled off a cracking victory ahead of the likes of Zach Oates and Jack Nicholson yesterday in the heat. In the second race earlier today, it was James Barty who came through in front of Oliver Stewart and Jack Saunders. And then in the third heat of the weekend, it was the brilliant privateer Scott Smith who took on all-comers and beat Jack Nicholson and Jack Saunders to the top 3 with a waft of penalties further back. So many people picking up penalties in a rip-roaring race that saw lots of action. But unfortunately, there were plenty of front-fairing penalties for many drivers within the field. It can get pretty tight and tense in the world of junior TKM, and they obviously proved that very much with gusto over the course of their race. In a few seconds, the drivers will be out on the circuit ready for junior TKM. And again, it's repechage rules. So only the first 6 drivers over the finish line will be the ones that progress through to the next race. There's not many of them in this race because there's only a handful over the acceptance of 34, but there is still everything to play for. And with enough drivers to compete for that position, it is going to be a very tough repechage. So you're going to see some very exciting races as we prepare for the finals coming up a little later on, of course. But in junior TKM, the repechages are getting underway shortly, and it's Kian Bennett who will go off pole position as he bids to join the rest of the competitors in the final. So let's talk you through this small grid of junior TKM repechage contenders, remembering that only the top 6 drivers will be the ones to progress through to the final. Kian Bennett on pole position from Finley Saunders, Daniel Garzal and Josh Raystrick are together on the second row of the grid. From Benjamin Cox and Dominic Kilmister, who share the third row of the grid, then it is Matt Marsh and Tom Johnson, and we think that Jacob Hodgkiss is actually alone at the back of the grid, as we don't seem to have Dominic Roberts, who had problems earlier on. So Dominic Roberts may well, unfortunately, have ended his weekend earlier. And that is a real pity for Dominic Roberts. He was one of the top talents coming into this junior TKM season, and a lot of people tipped him as a potential champion. That doesn't mean he's going to miss out on the run for the championship. It just means that this one could be the weekend that he neglects in his point scores as the season continues on. So the drivers come through the Bobby Game corner and then up towards the Mike Wilson complex. Kian Bennett, Finley Saunders, Dan Garzal, Josh Raystrick, Ben Cox, Dominic Kilmister, Matt Marsh, Tom Johnson and Jacob Hodgkiss. 9 of them will contest the 6 remaining places in the junior TKM finals later. Those 2 races, of course, are for championship points. Let's see how they go from the start. It's a clean one, and away we go down to the first corner. No problem at all for the pole sitter, Kian Bennett, up into second position. No problems from Finley Saunders. Initial challenge from Dan Garzal, wiped out as they go under the Litchfield Bridge. They go through the long sweeping left-hand hairpin and up the inside. Is that going to be Finley Saunders through to the lead? And yes, it is. Finley Saunders has made the jump and gone through into first position. And look, already he's trying to stretch out a lead. Brilliant start to the race then from Finley Saunders. He timed his moment perfectly. It's a nightmare for Kian Bennett, though. He's down to third position, really struggling. So who's that in second place? That is Josh Raystrick of the Tim Wilson Motorsport team. Oh, contact further back. Unfortunately, it looks as though a little bit mistake from Dominic Kilmister as he runs into the rear of the 62, I think it was, of, my apologies, it might be the 82 of Benjamin Cox. But that was a slight error for Dominic Kilmister. It looked like he missed his braking point by a few inches, and that's enough to just tip into the back of the kart in front. Completely accidental, but I have a feeling he's going to get a warning for that, and in fact he does. So he gets a warning flag, Dominic Kilmister. So that one, it didn't work. He's going to have to try again later. Finley Saunders and Josh Raystrick have already started to stretch out a massive lead. It's up the inside for the lead goes Josh Raystrick. Raystrick round the hairpin has got through. So Josh Raystrick is into the lead of the race in front of Finn Saunders. Then it's Bennett, Garzal, Kilmister, Cox, Johnson, Hodgkiss and Marsh, with Dominic Roberts failing to start. Down the back straight and up into the hairpin once again. Looks as though these 2 out front are working very hard. Raystrick in the lead, Saunders in second, and in third place is the pole sitter Kian Bennett. And then we have the 4th place driver Dan Garzal working hard to close up on them once again. And then it is the 77 of Dominic Kilmister ahead of Ben Cox, then Tom Johnson, Jacob Hodgkiss and Matt Marsh as they go through the chicane and then up through to the Mike Wilson complex after Bobby Game corner. And that's where the kart really starts to travel at the apex. You've got to balance the throttle, let the kart come back into that inside apex and get back on the power to delicate the balance as you come through once again onto the home stretch. A really good run this from Josh Raystrick in front of Finley Saunders. Then Bennett, Kilmister, Cox, Garzal, Johnson, Hodgkiss and Matt Marsh in 9th position. The gap between them all is still 3 seconds. Not really anything to tell you in terms of the likelihood of any one of these 6 drivers getting through. It's still very early doors and 9.5 minutes plus the additional lap to run. Fastest lap of the race, Ben Cox on a 1:02.79 at this point. That's an average speed of just a whisker under 50 miles an hour. So these guys really pushing hard around this circuit. 50 miles an hour may not sound much to the layman, but you've got to remember these guys are a couple of millimeters off the ground. They're not strapped in, and they are very quick on acceleration. They're through the chicane, back on the straight once again, and into that flowing right-hand hairpin, which is Mike Wilson Complex once again, named after the 5-time world champion, one of the greatest ever kart racers. They come through the final chicane and onto the main straight once more. Over the line, and it's still Raystrick in front of Saunders. Kian Bennett in third position, then Kilmister, Cox and Garzal. Now, Garzal's in a bit of a problem here. He was originally in the top 4, has now steadily slipped into 6th position. He's got to be careful how much time he loses from here on in, because the driver behind him, Jacob Hodgkiss, is making progress through the field, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race, in fact, up into 7th position has come Hodgkiss. Bit of a challenge from Tom Johnson to try and get by, but Hodgkiss is the man on the move, so you've got to be very careful if you're Dan Garzal. And in fact, he's going to make the move on Ben Cox to sort out the issue. He goes through, gets 5th position. He needed to make that move because Hodgkiss is on a charge on the 94. The Tim Wilson Motorsport driver pushing very hard to try and get himself into that top 6, and he's only one place away from it, and he is the fastest man on the circuit. So it would threaten potentially that Jacob Hodgkiss has a real chance to move his way forward. But as they come out of the final chicane, it is going to be close between these two. Josh Raystrick and Finley Saunders as they come through across the line. And it's still Raystrick from Saunders. Then Bennett, Kilmister, Garzal, Cox, Hodgkiss, Johnson and Marsh. Still only 3.8 between them all as they go out of the Litchfield Bridge and round the far side of the hairpin. Raystrick and Saunders settling into a nice rhythm now as they come through. And then we come over the Litchfield Bridge. There's a battle going on for third position now as they come down the back straight. Kilmister has caught up to Kian Bennett. And here comes Kilmister, making his move at the inside for third. He's got to commit to it now. He's up the inside, and he goes for it. Nicely done from Kilmister. That's P3. Now, he's going to be able to hold on there in front of Kian Bennett, but Bennett might get the switch back out of the second hairpin. Not quite close enough or fast enough out of the turn to be able to get the momentum to swing his way. Now, Hodgkiss is still swarming all over the back of Benjamin Cox, the 82, so he needs to find a little bit more progress as he comes out of it. Fastest of all in the first sector is Dominic Kilmister. He's just banged in a 21.67 for the first sector. In the midsection, it's actually Ben Cox who's the fastest of all on a 19.59. So he's making good progress. But our big slide from the 88, Finn Saunders out of the final turn. Goodness me. Any wider and he'd be riding in a bus. That was so treacherous out of the final corner there. Just manages to catch the kart before he pirouettes around, and it's not easy on this circuit, especially out of that final corner. If you get too much of the kart on those curbs, especially in this cold and these damp conditions, it can spit you out before you even know what's happening to you. And that mistake has cost Saunders big time in terms of momentum. Dominic Kilmister is now closing up to try and get into second position. Kian Bennett is not far away in fourth. Up the inside for 5th position. That is Ben Cox trying to get through on Garzal. Garzal resists. Hodgkiss is held up. And that's making Tom Johnson think twice about where his next move is going to come from. 5 of them are questing after the final 2 places in this final coming up. So it's very close. 6 of them are going to be rewarded. 3 of them are going to come away with nothing. And it's one of those situations where even if you spin out, you've got to keep going because you just don't know what's going to happen. And there's only the potential for 3 drivers to retire from the race. You may get a chance. And squeezing up the inside, Garzal holds on again in front of Ben Cox. Meanwhile, Hodgkiss is trying to get into 6th position, and he hasn't really been able to make the momentum count in his favour. Josh Raystrick, meanwhile, has got well clear. Saunders sliding around again as he comes out of turn 5 down the max straight. There could be a chance for Kilmister to break into second place, but he's not far enough alongside. He's not even close enough to get up the inside at that particular point. Oh, big divers round the outside. This could be for 7th position as Matt Marsh is going to hang it out. And Matt Marsh has managed over the course of the last few corners to get past both Hodgkiss and Johnson. Now Hodgkiss is back up the inside. And this is Marsh reminding them, I don't think just because I've been in last place for the whole race that I'm out of this. No chance at all. I'm going to push for it like crazy. And he's giving it everything he's got. Really good work this from Matt Marsh to outfox the 2 drivers in front of him. Hodgkiss has had to work hard to retaliate. Down the main straight though, Raystrick is still your leader. From Saunders, Kilmister and Bennett. Then it is Garzal and Cox who are still scrabbling around at each other. Goodness me, they are still all over the place as they race for position. Then Hodgkiss, who's up to 7th. Marsh and Johnson, who are still battling for that 7th place spot. And Marsh has got through into 7th position briefly as Hotchkiss comes back through. The thing is, these three are having a great race, but look how much time they're losing. Hotchkiss gestures to them. Look, we're battling away like mad. We are losing so much ground to the guys in front. We're never going to make it in if we keep doing this. So Hotchkiss frantically gesturing down the back straight. Stop it. Stop racing. Let's get after the guys in front, because this is killing any chance they might have had of making the top 6. As up the inside. Oh, thought that was a bit of a move on there from Tom Johnson. He thought better of it on Matt Marsh in the chicane. As Reistrick continues to lead the way. Josh Reistrick is having a really good performance out in the lead of the race. So the Tim Wilson Motorsport driver, Josh Reistrick, leads the race from Kilmister now in second. So he has found a way past Finley Saunders. Cian Bennett is next and side by side again. These two, Gazal and Cox, are still side by side down the main straight. And it's basically the two of them playing chicken into the first corner apex. And now they're at it again through turn 4. They come over the Litchfield Bridge. And again they're at it at turn 5. Looking over his shoulder, Dan Gazal sweating like mad in the hope that Ben Cox isn't going to find a way to get past. But they are sliding around all over the place as they try. Cian Bennett has another crack at 3rd place Saunders. But Finley Saunders is still there in 3rd position. And Cian Bennett is just trying to keep himself in position there in P4. And again, side by side, Gazal working so hard to keep Ben Cox at bay. And again, Matt Marsh has moved his way up into 7th place past Jacob Hotchkiss. So some great battles. Even though there's only 9 of them on the circuit, there are still some amazing tussles and twists and turns in this race. 2.5 minutes to go. Plus the additional lap, of course. But for Josh Reistrick, it is absolutely perfect. Kilmister, Saunders and Bennett are still there fighting for 2nd place. And again, Gazal has to shut the door on Ben Cox. And these three are scrapping away for 7th place. Marsh, Hotchkiss and Johnson still very close together. But basically, it looks as though all three of them have thrown in the towel for the top 6. And now they're racing against each other for their own little victory. But 4th place is still a tough place for Cian Bennett to be. He's trying to close up on the two guys in front. Kilmister and Saunders. Hasn't quite been able to get there, but from his point of view, 4th position would still be enough to get him through, as Kilmister again has to defend from Finley Saunders. Gazal and Cox are still nose to tail, and Gazal still gesturing to Ben Cox that they shouldn't be racing each other. They should be closing up on the guys in front. But with 1:45 plus the additional lap on the clock, they are 4 seconds back. So I wouldn't expect them to close up on them now unless there was an almighty battle for 2nd place in the last couple of laps. And at this point, why would you need to have that enormous battle? Just getting yourself into the final is enough. So Reistrick is leading. Now there's a warning flag, and that has gone to the man in 8th place, Jacob Hotchkiss. So whatever he's been doing with Matt Marsh and Tom Johnson, the stewards don't like it, so they've given him a warning. So he now needs to clean up his act a little bit. Down the back straight, and it's still Reistrick who's managed to pull a 2nd now, clear of his teammate Dominic Kilmister, in front of Finn Saunders and Cian Bennett. And then the 5th position pair, Dan Gazal and Ben Cox. They seem to have sorted out their differences now, though. As up the inside, whoa, that was tight for 2nd. Kilmister had to get right across to hold off Saunders, and there was a little nudge there in his defence. My goodness, that could have ended nasty, but Dominic Kilmister just hangs on by a thread. Really nicely done, though, and Saunders, I think, taken a little bit by surprise there by Kilmister's move. It's perfectly fair and legal, though. He wants to keep the position. He's racing. He needs to. Down the main straight and into that first chicane once again. Through the right, through the left, under the Litchfield Bridge. And up towards that long flowing hairpin. Josh Reistrick still is your leader of the race. Dominic Kilmister in 2nd position, just a whisker in front of Finley Saunders. Cian Bennett trying to stay with them, but struggling to. In fact, Saunders has made a big mistake in the first sector, and now Cian Bennett has a chance to make the move for 3rd position. That would definitely secure his place in the final. And Gazal and Cox have now separated. It looks as though they're going to have a fairly uneventful run for the last couple of laps of the race for 5th and 6th positions. Cian Bennett has one chance more to get into the top 3. And they're still squabbling for 7th position. Goodness me. They're not debating. I think they've all realised, top 6 is not on now, chaps. We're just going to have an amazing race for pride as they battle away for 7th position. Marsh, Hotchkiss and Johnson absolutely very nearly swapping paint as they go around the circuit. Into the last lap. Josh Raystrick has got the advantage. His teammate Dominic Kilmister has got the gap down to 0.4 of a second. So he may spring a nasty surprise on Josh in the last lap. Side by side again. Where on earth has he found the time? Cox is going side by side with Garza. Neither of them gives way, and Cox gets through around the outside. Goodness me, that was brave. And now Garzal comes back up the inside of Cox, but their fight for 5th position is biblically good. Down the back straight, having an amazing run, these two, and Garzal has sorted it out, but Cox, sheer bravery through the first chicane. They were side by side through both apexes. I've not seen that too often at the first chicane. They gave each other space, but neither of them was prepared to give best. That was amazing between those two. And still they squabble for 7th place. Marsh in front of Johnson and Hodgkiss now down at the back, but the checkered flag is being prepared, and it's going to be for the TWM twins. Tim Wilson Motorsport will be 1 and 2, and it's going to be Josh Raystrick just in front of Dominic Kilmister, with Finn Saunders 3rd and Kian Bennett 4th. Who's going to be 5th? After all of that, it is just going to be Dan Garzal in front of Ben Cox. He couldn't quite beat him, but they both go through regardless. Then it is going to be Matt Marsh, Tom Johnson, and a very frustrated Jacob Hodgkiss, who could easily have been top 6 in that race, but just didn't get the breaks. And that is where we lie at Junior TKM after an absolutely fantastic race in the Repechage. Really exciting races and a really exciting battle all the way throughout. And now we are ready for the main events. It's going to be a really exciting race day here at the British Kart Championships. And that first race is going to come for the Bambinos. Their pre-final, which will take place at 2 o'clock. So in about half an hour's time, they will be coming out onto the circuit for their warming up of the tyres and brakes. It's going to be a really exciting day of action. We are going to be live once again on Downforce Radio for all of the finals, pre-final for the Bambinos and the 2-point scoring rounds for the TKM Junior and Extreme classes and Honda Cadets. So plenty of racing still to come. Jake Sanson here on the start-finish line for PF International at the Motorsport UK British Kart Championships at the TKM, Honda and Bambino season openers. And it's going to be a really exciting day once the finals kick off at 2 p.m.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.